They said the Hayabusa was finished, that the days of hypersport motorcycles were numbered, killed by emissions laws, insurance premiums, and a world obsessed with going green. They said Suzuki would never dare to bring back the ultimate outlaw. But in 2026, Suzuki has proven them wrong. The Hayabusa GSX-1300R has returned, bigger, sharper, and more sophisticated than ever. And yet the question remains, is this still the king of speed, or just a shadow of its former self? Let's rewind the tape back in 1999, when the first GSX-1300R landed. The motorcycle world wasn't ready. Here was a machine that could rocket past 300 km/h straight out of the showroom. A bike so fast, it forced manufacturers into a gentleman's agreement to cap top speeds at 299 km/h. The Hayabusa didn't just break records. It broke the rules. It became a cultural icon, feared, adored, and immortalized on the street. And the drag strip. Over the years, the name Hayabusa stopped meaning just a motorcycle. It meant speed itself. Fast forward to 2026, the new GSX-1300R doesn't need to prove its place in history. That part is secure. What it needs to prove is relevance in a world where superbikes like the Kawasaki H2, Ducati Panigale V4, and BMW M1000RR are rewriting the performance rulebook. Can the Busa still stand tall? Suzuki thinks so. The design is the first thing that grabs you. Suzuki didn't erase the past, they embraced it. The silhouette is instantly recognizable. Long, low, muscular, but look closely and you'll see how far it's come. The front fairing has been redesigned for sharper aerodynamics, the LED headlight cluster sits deeper in a Falcon-inspired cowl, and every panel has been sculpted to reduce drag while improving stability at high speeds. It looks sleeker, meaner, and more aggressive, yet it's undeniably Hayabusa. And for fans of the name, that's exactly what they wanted. Beneath that skin lies the heart of the beast, a reworked 1340cc inline 4. Still naturally aspirated, still colossal, still built like a tank. On paper, the numbers look familiar. Just under 200 horsepower, about 197 to be exact, and 155 Nm of torque. Some critics might scoff. After all, the Kawasaki H2 makes well over 220 horsepower thanks to its supercharger, but the Busa isn't chasing dyno glory. What Suzuki has done is broaden the torque curve, giving it monstrous mid-range power. From 4,000 revolutions per minute upwards, the bike surges forward with the kind of force that feels unstoppable. It's less about screaming revs and more about that relentless shove that makes passing cars feel like flicking away insects. And let's talk about how it rides. The chassis is a refined twin-spar aluminum frame, carried over but tuned for balance. Fully adjustable KYB suspension keeps it planted, while Brembo-style brakes bite hard up front, paired with Suzuki's latest brake-by-wire system. At 264 kilograms, it's heavy compared to a razor-sharp superbike, but the weight is deceptive. The Hayabusa carries itself with poise. In a straight line, it feels like a guided missile, uncheckable, unstoppable in corners. It's surprisingly agile thanks to careful weight distribution and the electronics keeping things tidy. And speaking of electronics, this is where the 2026 Hayabusa shows its biggest evolution. A 6-axis IMU governs everything: traction control, cornering ABS, wheelie control, slide control, engine braking management, and multiple power modes. You've got a quick shifter up and down, launch control for the drag strip, and even cruise control for those long highway hauls. There's a full-color TFT display, Bluetooth connectivity, and navigation support. Suzuki has essentially given the Busa every piece of modern rider aid you'd expect on a flagship, without drowning it in unnecessary gimmicks. But here's the uncomfortable truth. No matter how good it is, the Hayabusa still lives under a leash. Like every hypersport bike today, It's electronically limited to 299 kilometers per hour. That means the mythical 320 kilometers per hour speeds that made the original infamous are gone. It will still hit that limit terrifyingly fast, but it can't surpass it for purists. This feels like a betrayal. After all, the Hayabusa was the bike that ignored limits. Now it has to play by them. And that's not the only criticism. At a time when bikes like the Ninja H2, Ducati Panigale V4, and BMW Superbikes push performance into the stratosphere, the Hayabusa isn't the fastest, isn't the lightest, and isn't the most powerful. On a spec sheet alone, it looks like it's been overtaken. Some will say it's a dinosaur, a relic clinging to its reputation, but here's the counter-argument. The Hayabusa has never been just about numbers. It's about presence, about that overwhelming mix of speed and comfort that no other bike manages. A Panigale might outrun it on a racetrack, but would you want to cross 3 states on one? The Busa is different. The seat is broad and plush. The riding position is aggressive but not punishing, and with cruise control and wind protection, you can cross continents at triple-digit speeds. It's a hyperbike you can actually live with, and that makes it unique. Price-wise, the 2026 GSX-1300R isn't cheap. Expect a starting tag around $19,000, with higher trims and options pushing into the low $20,000s. For what it offers, it's still good value compared to European rivals, but make no mistake, running costs are steep. Insurance is high, maintenance isn't cheap, and it drinks fuel when you ride it the way it begs to be ridden. This isn't a bike for someone counting pennies. So here's the big question. Is the 2026 Hayabusa still relevant? In a way, yes. It's not the absolute fastest anymore, but it doesn't need to be. It's a machine that stands for something more. For the riders who grew up idolizing the Busa, this bike is a dream reborn. For new riders stepping into the hypersport world, it's a gateway into an experience no other motorcycle can offer. It's about the feeling of taming something massive, something unapologetic, something that makes no excuses for being excessive, in a world that's trying to be minimal, and that's the magic. The Hayabusa GSX-1300R is still, in 2026, a legend. Not because it breaks records, not because it tops charts, but because it embodies an attitude. It's not here to be practical, or economical, or politically correct. It's here to make your pulse race, your stomach drop, and your heart believe, just for a moment, that speed is freedom. So yes, the world has changed. Bikes have gotten faster, cleaner, and more high-tech, but the Hayabusa is still the Hayabusa. Bigger than life, feared on the street, respected on the strip, and immortal in the culture of speed. This is a rider, and the Hayabusa lives on. Still rebellious, still intimidating, still the bird of prey that refuses to die.